the plan was never this. Plan was कि IIT से graduation कर लो, बाहर चले जाओ, find a good job, make a good life for yourself. So we got a lot of support from IIT, just in terms of space, in terms of mentorship, in terms of just being able to use the central facilities, the workshop. I think it was Professor Rao who said, no, these guys might do something. I think he showed a lot of support. When I started, everything was imported. Like down to the very basic nuts and bolts are coming from outside. My thought process was that how can you enable one person to fly more than one drone? If you want to fund the kind of R&D, you will need money. You don't have it. You have to get it. We had no idea how we'll do it. Like it's never a bad thing to not have enough resources. Now I really find it to be true because it helps you in ways that you don't expect. So we have three businesses where light show being one, components, and third is defense, which is Vayudh. So a drone is just a vehicle.
Okay.
What sensor you put on it basically will decide that what is the rule. When people say weaponizing a system, I think what they are thinking of is putting an explosive and then crashing that drone into the target.
Right.
That is one aspect of weaponizing. Think about having a drone which can localize a jammer. Like if somebody has turned on a jammer and your drone can tell you, okay, I'm flying here and I'm getting a signal which is coming from that direction or maybe that direction. So now with one drone you know the direction. You might have another drone flying at some different location which finds the direction is in that direction. Wherever these two intersect is where your jamming signal is emanating from. Now taking these out. So do you think that that payload is not a weapon? For me it is. It's not about just destruction of target. At times having the right tool in the right place persuades the other guy to not do or abandon their mission. Objective is that. Objective is to enable the next level of warfare. What we're trying to do is just enable their day-to-day duties with the system, and if needed, pull out the current hardware, put the explosive hardware, send it on a one-way mission. You can always do that. I'm not saying that the technology doesn't exist, but it might be not robust enough to be trusted on the battlefield. Because we know from experience that things work perfectly in the lab, but when you have to do it in less than ideal scenarios, it doesn't work. And war is very brutal. It is very unforgiving. One startup, I'm not saying all, one startup has to make it really big. So it becomes an example, and then people will be more willing to basically invest into ideas which are basically useful or profitable a decade from now.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Media. Today I am in Delhi with Tanmay. He's co-founder and CEO of Botlab Dynamics and Vayudh. They are really building some great cutting-edge UAVs in India. And Swagat Tanmay, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay, so I was looking at your journey and you have been building drones since your first year of college, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So how did you landed on this drone tech so early on?
I mean, see, I come from like a small town.
Which town?
उज्जैन में था जब आई थिंक 10वीं में वापस आया छुट्टियों में और देखा कि सारे दोस्त हमारे गायब थे और फिर सब जेई की तैयारी में लगे. पता नहीं था उस समय कि जेई होती क्या है. फिर आई थिंक एक बार क्योंकि आप खुद को जज करते हो आपके स्कूल में नंबर्स आ रहे हैं उसके ऊपर, एंड द स्ट्रक्चर फॉर द एग्जाम इज वेरी डिफरेंट. Very result oriented, I would say. How fast can you go through? It's not very process oriented. I think that is one thing that sets it apart. I don't know now, but 2010, 2009. So I started with that. My dad was a policeman, and I think you always wanted to do something with science, but then you don't know the way. कि मतलब करेंगे कैसे?
So you had that early curiosity
It's
towards
just like
science.
I used to put stuff together, make, but कितने resources होते हैं आपके पास? Whatever you can find that stationery में कुछ मिल गया, battery मिल गई, wire मिल गया, आप उसी पे limited हैं. So then somebody says कि if you really want to do engineering, मतलब if you want to make something, like I came from the mindset of a maker, then learned engineering, and then I'm trying to address those problems that I find कि यार करना पड़ेगा. So I remember just JEE was never on the horizon कि मतलब ये होता है क्या है. दोस्तों से पूछा अच्छा ये है ऐसा है, ठीक है. Prepared for it. 2010 I was in IIT. I remember at that point, and it was news. I think वो अभी भी चल रही है. There is this missile called Javelin. If you have seen. अभी तो I think it is used extensively when the Russia-Ukraine war started. What you have is a missile that a soldier can carry on their shoulder, and you can take out armored vehicles, मतलब tanks. And it has taken out helicopters also. So, उस time पे I remember there was news that India is trying to buy this missile, and like the unit price was like $100,000 at that time. And then you realize, okay, ठीक है, you have just cleared JEE, you have all the confidence in the world. You think, यार, you don't know how difficult would it be, but it is a worthy goal for you. And then I said, कि यार, ठीक है, ये बनाते हैं. Let's just concentrate on this. Then, little by little, you figure out things. Initially, you have nothing. You're just shooting in the dark. What do? I think the very first thing I realized was that the most expensive part of anything that is flying today is not the fuselage. It is the electronics. It is the avionics of the thing. So a flight computer is the most expensive part of anything that is flying today. So I said, okay, ठीक है. This is something that I would like to do. And one thing that IIT gives you is a very fast internet.
Right.
So, I mean, then you start looking into it and then you realize, oh my God, this is not going to be easy. In that process, I mean, you realize that missile itself, it represents something. See, an infantryman is, उसके kit में क्या है? He has a rifle. So whatever he can take out with the rifle, he's not afraid of that. It's something that he cannot take out with his small arm, is what breaks your morale. But a tank is built primarily for that. Is to break in, is to break your morale, is to make you feel that you cannot fight it. And then you realize, okay, you have to make something that enables that soldier to take out something that is bigger than what his rifle can engage. And then I think little by little it became very clear that electronics on one side and the drone. It was just coming up around that time. And 3 Idiots was also came around that time only. So my thought process was that how can you enable one person to fly more than one drone? Because at that time, like a drone is not as big. Like if you think about it, with your limited resources, it's a glorified toy at that point. So you have two options. One is that you can increase the size of the drone. That is one. You keep increasing, and at some point it becomes helicopter. Becomes expensive. That is the vertical integration part. You can scale horizontally. Where you basically do, what you do is that you have numerous systems flying together and basically accomplishing the exact same task, but in a distributed manner. So those are the two basic ideas, that you have to invest in electronics, you have to invest in autonomy and networking of these systems. And I think that is what got me started. So there was no idea for a startup at that point. I just wanted to build something so I can solve a problem. And I think that has led me to today, where we have the ability to actually fly thousands of drones together. We still have to solve those networking problems and autonomy problems that are there. And I think I found good friends along the way, built a good team. I mean, the very first person I asked was my roommate. after IIT. So having a startup, all of that was never a plan. The plan was just to do something meaningful. I think if it, and that's something that I'll always share with my team, that so long as your intent is pure, results will come. So like just make sure that you're doing whatever you're doing it for the right reasons. I think that is it.
So like Tanmay, in the first year, like ki you had that sense of responsibility towards nation, like you wanted to do it for the country, or you were just curious at that point of time because age was small. So that is the question.
No, so what happens is that see, my dad was a cop, like a policeman.
Right.
So I think I was very shielded from society or from whatever is happening, because police line में कोई आपको कुछ मतलब, it's a small community, nobody says anything. Majority of the time, like you don't see the world, you don't see the hunger outside, you don't see the problems outside. What happens is, it happened for me, that you come to Delhi. Now, again, you are really well shielded from the perils of the city, where you have everything on the campus, you don't really need to go outside. And I remember the very first time I went out. So, metro nahi tha us time pe. The nearest metro was Central Secretariat, Sachivalaya. So I used to take the bus. So hostel say you can take a bus. That bus will take you to Secretariat. Now that bus goes through all the areas, I would say, where all the embassies are. And my trip, so I used to go to my uncle, मामा जी यहीं पास में रहते थे. तो आप उतरेंगे मुंडका पे, and then you have to cross the border. So in a span of, let's say, an hour, you see a section of society where very few people have a lot. And on the other side, you see so many people who have nothing.
Right.
And then you start questioning, like you get these questions that, okay, you have this privilege. The government is going to pay for your education for the next 4 years effectively. And then it just feels unfair that you don't use it. And I think it's in the DNA. Having seen my dad do what he does, I think that was always there. I think it just got activated at that point. Because what happened is, the plan was never this. Plan was, IIT जाओ, ठीक है? उसके बाद आप क्या करोगे? अपने को फिर मास्टर्स बाहर से करनी है, ठीक है? And then objective is कि IIT से graduation कर लो, बाहर चले जाओ, find a good job, make a good life for yourself. And if you really think about it, that is not your dream. That is what the society is telling you to do, because they have defined success in that manner for you. For me, it was, if I cannot use what I've learned for just the people that are around you, what good does it do? So I think that was it. I think I was very spoiled, I must say. In that, if I look back at 18-year-old Tanmay, I think wanted to build everything for himself doesn't bring you satisfaction. I can tell you, the very first scholarship I got, I bought a BlackBerry. And then I'm like, oh, this doesn't bring me happiness. The next time I got a scholarship, I bought the very first set of parts for drones. I got a few servo motors, I got a transmitter, a receiver, not knowing what I'll do with it, but I think, ठीक है, धीरे-धीरे सीख जाऊँगा. And got a lot of support. I think my dad was so supportive. He gave me his ATM card जिसमें salary आता था, effectively. कि at some point he realized कि इसकी कोई ऐसी आदतें हैं नहीं, कहीं खर्च करेगा. So I think got a lot of support. People kept saying yes when they could have said no. So मतलब मेरा तो बनता ही नहीं है कि मैं कुछ और करूँ इसके अलावा.
Right. But जब आपने शुरू किया, I think at that point of time ecosystem इतना mature नहीं था. Like talking about hardware, hardware was really hard, and talking about that time. So उस time I don't think so कोई ecosystem था और ऐसी companies थी इंडिया में. So if you can navigate us through the process, like how everything started, and
If I look back, actually hardware has always been hard. There's no two ways about it. The other thing is that on the one hand, all of our education, everything around us is geared towards the service side, the software side of things.
Right.
Like if you really think about it, most of our software is running on hardware which is coming from outside. We still don't make silicon in this country, not at the scale that is needed.
Right.
We are getting started there also. Like everyone else, when I started, everything was imported. Like down to the very basic nuts and bolts are coming from outside. Like if you want to make a drone, you want everything to be lightweight. Now steel के bolts यहाँ मिल जाएंगे आपको, that increases weight. If you want aluminium, titanium, like weight बचाना है, सब बाहर से आ रहा है. What changed, I think, was कि a lot of these cell phones started getting built here, or I would say assembled here. Now that has brought in the ecosystem where you can get people who will populate PCBs for you, they will make PCBs for you, and so that thing, I think, has changed, at least for electronics. For hardware, we always had that ecosystem where, see, we are making motorcycles and cars. That ecosystem does exist, and the thing is that you really have to make peace with one idea, that you will not be producing it at the cost that China produces. वो वाला play आप नहीं ले जा सकते.
Right.
So you have to have the combination of hardware with software. Where, see, the objective is to build hardware, but add so much value with software on it that it becomes viable for you to do it. I mean, what we're doing today is primarily just putting our own software on our own hardware. So it is optimized to a level where it can compete with the rest of the world. And then figuring out a way of generating money out of that and then repeating the cycle. So we have done that with drones, and we are trying to do that for other systems now.
Perfect. And
Subsystems outside.
Right. So when you started, I think at that point of time, so how was the support from the people, from your institution? I think you're incubated at IIT Delhi.
I was, yeah.
So I was just reading this post of Professor Ramgopal Raoji.
Yeah.
So where he mentioned, okay, three, like, they come to my office, they
Yes,
had nothing and just had conviction and we gave them funds.
Yeah, I mean, not very far from the truth, actually. So, because, see, what happens is, because you're getting trained as an engineer, you really don't think about the other aspects of things. You really don't think about, okay, if I'm putting X money here, it has to bring back some X plus something. You're really not thinking about that.
Right.
And then that cannot scale. It can only get you to a certain point. But for that, you need money. Like, even for a POC, कि आपका एक minimum कुछ चीज़ दिखाया लायक तो हो जाए कि हाँ सर ये बना रहे हैं. I remember that. So I was incubated at IIT for 5 years. I think we were one of the longest incubatees at FITT because, and most of the people graduated. There was a pandemic in between. So we got a lot of support from IIT, just in terms of space, in terms of mentorship, in terms of just being able to use the central facilities, the workshop. And that actually brought us to a point where, okay, we can say this is what we are building. This can be scaled. And then we got the very first money from DST, Department of Science and Technology. Again, this is the Nidhi scheme. We got 50 lakhs. And then after we demonstrated the POC, we got another 50. Then I think because hardware is, and especially at that time, it was very difficult to tell people that, okay, I'm doing something for defense. Because that will just scare people off because gestation period is very long. You really don't have a horizon where you say, okay, if I put some money today, it's going to come back in, let's say, 5 years. It doesn't work. So nobody wants to put money in that. We went for this competition to Pokhran, organized by the Air Force. At which point we realized, okay, we are not unique. We are doing what everybody else is doing. We are assembling drones. We are not making drones, we are assembling them. And I think once we came back from that, that exposure helped us in basically fine-tuning and figuring out, okay, you know what? First, you have to make something that brings in money.
Right.
You have to find a way. If you really want to do something for the defense of the country, the first thing you do is make money for yourself. You have to be sustainable. In order to help defense, you have to be able to defend yourself first.
Right.
And because that thought process is there कि यार मेरे को तो यही करना है. I remember having that conversation with Dr. Sarita, and she said कि तो ये करता जाएगा तो शहीद हो जाएगा. And then like I've seen that movie Border. I don't know if you've
Right.
Border में there's a scene like कि दुश्मन के हाथ शहीद होके जंग नहीं जीती जाती.
मार के जीती जाती.
I remember, I mean, like in that moment, Dr. Sarita was Kuldeep Singh Chandpuri for me. I was actually kind of like, you have to, and I learned that thing. Like, it was so clear to me at that point कि यार ठीक है जिंदा रहना पड़ेगा.
Right.
You have to figure out a way. And I think we were fortunate that around that time, a few people were doing this around the world where they were using drones to do drone light shows. So we realized, okay, you see what we are building, a subset of this. I mean, what we're trying to solve is much harder than the drone light shows. And if we can do this, we can show people that this is a viable business model where you're using drones as a service. And initially I was very reluctant going into that. But then I was convinced for one reason only, that see, whatever we were building till now were like maybe 5 pieces, a dozen, not more than that. But here was a chance for us to basically design something, then scale it up and really figure out how reliable is your hardware. Because you get 5 PCBs, all of them run, 100% success, and you pat yourself on the back. It is really not, you don't have the quantity to figure out how many of them actually failed. The other problem is that if you have 5, you will not stop still all those 5 are running. You'll make sure कि नहीं कोई fail नहीं हुआ. You have to do some tweaks, you have to do some soldering on it, but you will say कि 100%. Whereas when you make 1,000, now you really figure out, oh, maybe I have to do this differently. Maybe I have to redesign this. And the things that doesn't look like a big problem when you're making 10 pieces, let's say you just swap 2 wires, TX RX आपने interchange कर दिया, not a big deal. Dust को तो मैं ठीक कर सकता हूँ. But you don't learn to plan. You learn to now that thought process changes. That no, I have to plan first and execute it later. I think that was something that we learned, and we were given all of the support in terms of patience. कि नहीं ठीक है, these guys look okay, मतलब चोर टाइप्स नहीं लग रहे हैं. And they really seem to be doing something. So I think just having that kind of patience with a small group, which didn't have much to show at that time, I think that patience is needed, and I think IIT did show that patience for the longest time. When we needed money, I remember that this is 2020, and this is basically in the middle of the pandemic. I remember that that having that meeting where we were supposed to present, and then I think we came out, we were not very sure that if we will get it. I think it was Professor Rao who said, no, these guys might do something. I think he showed a lot of support. And I think once we have done that, I think that was like a thank you to him. Thank you for showing that kind of support to us. Thank you for believing in us. When nobody else saw it, you saw it. And then I remember after that, I met him once. We actually had a small get-together where he said, "Ki, you know what? I really did not think." Because he did say that. We would have supported you even if you had failed. That meant a lot. At which point, I realized I had an option to fail. Even after getting that much invested in, they were even then willing to help you even if you had failed at that point. So that shows the kind of commitment that they displayed in us. And then once you have that kind of backing, you don't think about failure. You think about, ki, I cannot let this person down now. You're not thinking anything else. And then I think that motivates you to just get up and get it done.
Yeah, I think intentions matter a lot. I think character matters a lot. And there's also something in you.
I mean, I don't know. I think they saw it before I saw it in myself.
Right.
I mean, even today, I think doubt is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps you alert. But then you can't have too much of it also.
Right.
A bit of doubt always helps. Keeps you on your toes. Makes you do the right things.
Right. But when you went to him, I think you don't had any business idea. Nothing.
I never had any business idea.
Okay.
My idea was you make something that beats the competition, you'll make money. But Dr. Sarita is the one who really, and Anuj is the one who takes care of numbers. But my primary focus was just that you make something that beats the competition on any level. Could be performance, could be price, could be availability, any of that. That was the idea.
So, जब ये business angle आया, like you always wanted to build for defense,
Yeah.
or like you know कि आप बस खुद को strong कर रहे थे फिर with that entertainment business.
So, my only objective when I started was कि we have to build for defense.
Okay.
That was the only play. I had no idea how to do it. I was figuring things out. And then you realize that you don't have deep enough pockets to address the needs of the army or the air force or the navy or anyone for that matter. But you have a certain level of ego. कि यार I cannot. I mean, मैं कैसे पीछे हट जाऊँ? But that, I think at some point you have to really think, okay, what you want to do is your job, but you have a team and you're responsible for them also.
Right.
So for us, it was just that we have to first, if you want to fund the kind of R&D that will take you to the spot where you can actually do something meaningful, you will need money. You don't have it. You have to get it. And in the meantime, if you're building something, see, you have to make things repeatedly to refine them. And that was, I think, it was a zigzag way, but it was never too far from what we wanted to do. Now, a lot of what we have built, basically for the drone light show, we have built our own flight controller, motor controller, wireless modules now, GNSS units, and a lot of, because people see drone light shows, they don't see what goes behind getting it done. A lot of the lessons that we have learned are very effective, and there are obvious military applications to launching a few thousand drones.
Right.
So I think now that is why we have started Vayudh, where a lot of what we have built in terms of simulators, trajectory planning algorithms, telemetry, getting telemetry from 1,000 drones down to one station. All of that is now feeding into that vertical, where now we are not saying, try this. We are saying, use this, we know it works. And that confidence only comes because you have made it work yourself. We are not saying this is a prototype. We are saying this is a ready-built machine which is tested and certified to these and these standards. I think that is now getting realized. Like what we wanted to do is now getting realized. And the path was not direct, obviously, but it was never very far away from what we were doing. Because of, and I think the nature of the business is such that we don't talk about it as much as we should. Because defense is always a bit
But we'll talk about this defense and working with the army. But prior to that, in I think in your college also you built some drones for Delhi Police or some agriculture
Yeah.
institute. So that led to some your product market fit or anything, any lessons from that?
See, this was 2014
Okay.
at the IIT Delhi open house.
You were in your final year.
I was in my final year.
Okay.
This is open house. So there we demonstrated two drones working together.
Okay.
Basically, one identifying a square on the ground and the other drone going and landing on it. This was just a demonstration of networking systems. Not just one drone and one person, but one drone connected to another drone,
Okay.
feeding data to a person. That was always the idea. How do you enable one person to fly multiple drones? So there was Delhi police did get interested. They were very intrigued with the idea.
What was the utility for them?
Okay, so objective is that you can cover a larger area. If you
Okay.
have, let's say, there is a large gathering,
So okay.
you can monitor them. You can monitor the flow of people going in and out of an area. All of that, basic crowd management, I would say. But then again, there is no company, there is no entity, and it is not a product. It is a demonstration. I think, that actually gave us a lot of confidence in, okay, what we are building does have value, and what you're building can be of use to some people. At that time, I think the very first order after we made the startup was from IRI, Indian Agriculture Research Institute, where they were trying to use drones for precision agriculture. Basically, flying, you can make a drone really large and then have it carry, say, 20 liters of fluid and do pesticide dispersion, fertilizer dispersion. You can do that. Or you can have 4 drones carrying 5 kgs each. So we sold 4 systems to demonstrate this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Got
So
this.
that was the idea. That how do you network drones together? Because our thought process was just that, enabling one person to fly more than one drone. Got us some money, got us some initial traction, but then in order to scale, it is very difficult to convince people that this is something that can be scaled. And after the experience we had at Pokhran, it was very clear that you are assembling systems. You have to really make peace with that idea that you are not adding value if you are just buying parts of the shelf. Majority of it coming is from one country,
China.
that is not very friendly to you. And then you are not adding enough value to justify that so much time goes into building that. So that is when we realize, okay, no, this is not what we do. We will make electronics. We will figure out the most expensive part of the drone, and in due course we'll get the rest of it indigenized.
Yeah, right. And just to talk about the scale, when we look at the Indian-China relationship,
Yep.
I think talking about the trade deficit, I think we have some $100 billion trade deficit with China, and mostly are electronic parts and electronic items, mostly. So
Majority of it, yeah.
yeah, right. So I think that is a very good step, to move in that direction, to build things indigenously here in India. So I think that is very good step. Now talking about you are building some things for the Delhi police, then some for the agriculture. So how did the idea of drone for entertainment came into the frame? ये कैसे हुआ?
What happened was, so that I think things started happening around that time. Intel was flying 10 drones, 100 drones, 500 drones.
Okay.
This is around the same time frame, I would say 2017, 2018. I think we were looking at it, and because, again, same thing, enabling one person to fly multiple drones, so we were looking at that. 2 things happened. One, Professor Rao asked us if we can do a show for Dashera. So in IIT, during Dashera, you have the same thing that is repeated all across the country, where you have a Ravan that is burnt. And then he wanted to do something about that. Okay, this creates pollution. This is a fire hazard.
So it was about sustainability.
He was totally about that. So he said that can we do something? Can we first enhance this experience with tech, and then in due course replace this with tech? Funny thing that the sixth world record we made was for Mysore Dashara.
Okay.
So I think all of those things are
Connected.
They're getting concluded in some manner. But yeah, and Mysore Dashara, I think I will share pictures with you, but it was majestic. And the crowd there was just loved it. You have to understand, like, there is a certain feeling. I think the team, when they are on the ground, when they're doing these shows, I mean, thoda tangent pe ja raha hai, but it gives us so much joy to tell our stories with our drones, with our team, to our people. Although it's second to none. You go there, you see, I think we have applied for an international award once. And we won. We were number one in storytelling.
Okay.
Because मैंने कहा था इसमें अंग्रेजी में कुछ मत डालना. This is our story. And like the Hindi script in the sky, it looks beautiful. I think I never found anything else written in the sky that is as beautiful as just Janmashtami ki Shubhkamnaएं.
I haven't seen a drone show yet.
I will invite you sometime.
Oh, 100%. I would love to attend that.
Yeah. The only thing is that it is becoming more and more difficult to get permissions around Delhi, but yeah, some other place.
Yeah, but still I find it like, a very new concept. Like,
Oh yes.
yeah.
So I think we got away from the point. I think I forgot all the point also. So sorry.
So we were discussing like, how the idea of drone for entertainment came
exactly.
into the frame, and talking about like, as you mentioned, long cycles, business, TAM, everything figure out karna tha.
Yes.
So ये drone for entertainment कैसा है, and like, you had any idea about the TAM and everything?
Yes. So, I think we realized that what we are doing is a subset.
Okay.
Like a subset of that can actually address this problem. Then Rauser said that Dashera. For that, we actually took 9 of our drones, put LEDs on them, and then flew them. No formation, just some drones flying. But people were fascinated with that.
Okay.
Drone ul raha hai. And then I think from there, there were a few drones show that were done. I think that for the movie Brahmastra, there were 150 drones that flew during the Kumbh Mela. I think it was Ardh Kumbh at that time. This is 2019, I believe. Around that time.
Okay.
2019, 2020. So then people were already doing it outside. There were people who were bringing drones from abroad. I think it was a Chinese team which did that. So the market started opening up. And then the pandemic happened. We were in the middle of this, and then we realized that we have to use this time wisely, and we have to get parts. And initially, we were just planning for 100 drones. So I think the one show we did for Dashara was online. Now we had scaled to around 50 drones. This is in the middle of the pandemic. This is 2020, 2021 actually, yeah, during the second wave. 2021. At that time, we had figured everything out. We had a flight controller ready, our GPS was ready, the drone was ready, and we made the first 50 systems. And we put that online. I think Dr. Sarita made a post online on LinkedIn. Around the same time, the Ministry of Defense was planning a drone show for the beating retreat ceremony.
Okay.
I think somehow it went through the chain and landed up at MOD. Some of the officials came to us and said, "Can you fly 1,000 drones for the beating retreat ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan, and you have 6 months?"
Wow.
We had 100 drones, 50 of them assembled, 50 of them in parts. We had no idea how we'll do it. I think we were sitting with them till 11 in the night. All of us had poker faces. you see your team, don't flinch, don't flinch. कोई बताएगा नहीं सच से. I think after the lift, we realized none of the parts that we are using is available, because again, this is in the middle of the pandemic. The whole silicon supply chain is done for. Big brands are finding it difficult to basically put chips into their hardware. Oh my god. We re-engineered everything in 3 weeks with whatever parts were available, with parts that were obsolete but were available. We made that, and then we did the show at Rashtrapati Bhavan. So we got our first big break in a very funny way from the Ministry of Defense. Full circle.
This just sounds like, कि एक दिन में पढ़ के पास हो जाता था कॉलेज में. It's like that only.
No, but I think had we assembled those drones,
Okay.
we would never made it. I think because what happened was that because we had the know-how of putting those things together and having know-how at an elemental level. Okay, I can replace this gyro. I can get this barometer to work. I can get a compass. The funniest thing, we got an iPhone compass.
You did whole reverse engineering kind of.
I would not say reverse, we were doing it forward.
Okay.
Because reverse engineering means that you have something to begin with. Here we were putting things together from, and we were not, initially, yes, we took some references, but we kept updating it. And it's not just the know-how. As in know-how is, कि यार हाँ ये लगा दिया, but know why. Why do you want this gyro? What is the kind of, can you characterize it? Do you know what the noise level this thing puts out? What is the kind of accuracy you'll get? All of that. I remember, and one constraint at that point was, normally you order 5-10 pieces to test out. We did not have the luxury. We were buying everything in lots of 1,000 or 2,000. कि यार मिल रहा है ले ले, कल को नहीं मिलेगा. And then normally you certify a part and then you order in bulk. Here we were ordering everything in bulk. कि मतलब ऐसा ना हो कि हमने इसको इंटीग्रेट कर दिया, पूरा टेस्टिंग हो गई और फिर पार्ट गायब हो गया. So we were buying everything in bulk with whatever resources we could find. We were able to put 1,000 drones together and then fly it there.
Wow. So I think lack of resources led you to think from the first principles and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
We can say that.
It's a good thing to have. Like it's never a bad thing to not have enough resources. Now I really find it to be true because it helps you in ways that you don't expect. Then, and again, people helped us with the resources when the time was right. So.
Right. And like it sounds so fascinating, like you started with 9 or 10 drones, then eventually made 1,000 drones. Now I think you have some 10,000 drones in your fleet.
We are actually making 10,000 more.
Okay, and you did like, ki some 5,500 drone shows in Amaravati, Ambani's pre-wedding, massive shows in Oman, in Kuwait.
Yes.
So like, ki there are some 5 Guinness Book World Record certificates on the wall.
2 more are on their way. So we have we broke a record last year. This was in at Telangana for the Telangana Rising Summit. So now, I mean, this is a testament to how things scale. If you have done your homework and you have laid down the groundwork well, things will scale up quickly because nobody can create a bottleneck for you.
Right.
So having that level of control over your hardware, having a team which knows what they're doing will help you scale.
Yeah, but just talking about on the scale on which you are working, like you did shows in Oman, Kuwait, and a lot of big people, big shows. If you can talk about that scale.
Oh yeah. So I think we realized that the very first fleet that we had built, that was, I think it became obsolete the day we did the show at Rashtrapati Bhavan.
Okay.
Because we realized, okay, we did this so we can do this particular show. And we learned a lot in that journey. Now, we sat together and we asked, okay, how would you refine this design? and what would you change with it? So the very first thing the team said, okay, we have to injection mold this, the whole frame. Okay, that's one. We have to upgrade the electronics. And we really have to make it at scale. Because if you're injection molding something, you're not making 10 or 20. You're making a few thousand. The next thing that we decided that we will target the international market. Because now what you really want to do is not do shows here, but showcase that the technology that you have built here can compete with the rest that is available out there. And you're not doing that with 1,000 drones. You have to really make a lot of drones. So the thought process was that now you have to demonstrate this technology not only in India, but outside. How do you do that? By doing things that people don't think is possible. When we started, I think we had flown 1,000 drones. China had a lead, which was when we had 50, China was flying 2,000 drones. When we flew 1,000, they started flying 3,000 drones. So we said, okay, we'll make 5,000 drones now. I think when we did the Mani pre-wedding, that was the largest show. Then, at which point we said, okay, theek hai, now people know. Objective is very clear that what you built here has to be of international standards. And now we are competing in the rest of the world. We have done massive shows. We did a show in Oman with 3,500 drones. That was the largest show in Oman. It was, I think at that time, it was the largest show in the Middle East. And we realized that unless you don't have a standing in the international market, you will not push yourself to refine your tech. That is what keeps us motivated. Now, it has come to a point where numbers are not that important, at least not to me. What is important is safety, what is important is repeatability and reliability. So we are now working towards that. How do you cater to a larger audience, to the international audience? And by doing these shows, little by little, wherever we go, people have a very different view of Indian tech. Because now they see us coming with our own hardware. It's a very different feeling because they associate you with software, with services. And now you roll up and you say, okay, all of this is built in India and we are doing the largest show in your country. It has a very different feeling to it.
Right. So your drones are completely indigenously built for now.
Yeah.
And you recently, I think you also made drones for indoor shows and like drone with fireworks and a lot of things.
Yes.
So please talk about that.
So what happened was that a lot of testing that we were doing, so a lot of algorithms, a lot of path planning that we were doing, we wanted to test that indoors.
Okay.
That led to, okay, you already have something that can fly indoors. You already have something that can plan the trajectories in a very tight spaces. Why not just put it together and do indoor shows? Because there are, so whether it's too hot or raining outside, you can't do much. And there is a demand for doing these shows inside where you do not get GPS, in large auditoriums where you can fly these systems. So the tech was already there. We repackaged it and then did the indoor shows. Same for the pyro. That was primarily for the international market because now people are, so in order to replace fireworks, they're now putting fireworks on the drone. Where I think this is the logical progression where, see, a lot of celebrations internationally are done with fireworks. Now, little by little, I think it will be done with drone light shows. And it adds to the overall experience where the same electronics that we were using on the small drone, we just upscaled it, put it on a bigger drone. You have these pyrotechnics that are triggered electronically. So where instead of putting out an LED, now you have a fuse which is ignited at that precise point and you can add it to formations.
Right.
So all of the things that you have built, trajectory planning, time synchronization, all of that, just coupled with a pyrotechnic that is triggered at the exact same time.
Right. So, like moving further, I would love to know about the logistics of like, how what it takes to like,
Oh,
make a
yes.
show work. But before that, like, from layman perspective, I want to understand the tech behind it, like, the swarm tech and everything, like, that you do,
Yes.
like how drones are perfectly synchronized and like, ki flying in the sky without crashing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And if you can talk about that.
I mean, so this is a subset of swarming. Like a
Okay.
complete swarming is where you have all the drones, not all the drones, but the drones communicating to each other.
Okay.
We are not, the drones in a light show are not communicating to each other. They have a very precise map and very precise trajectory that is pre-planned.
Okay,
Now-
so they don't transfer any data.
They're
like,
not transferring, they're not exchanging any data, not to each other.
Okay.
Now we have the capacity to basically get the telemetry data to a single station, and then the station can now transfer it back to the drones. We have a different networking solution where you have drones which are completely, they're talking to each other, they're exchanging data with their neighbors, they're doing all the link budget analysis, all of that. But that is not how a light show runs. A light show is running on two things: precision and timing.
Okay.
And I mean, if you really think about it, it's the same thing, because what you have is a real-time kinematic GPS. So you have an RTK GPS. How is it different from the GPS on your phone? On your phone, the accuracy that you get is, say, 2 to 5 meters. So you can expect on a good day that your position is within a 2-meter radius circle. So you have a 95% possibility of being in that circle when you say accuracy. So if you want to fly 2 drones safely, one here, you have to put them 4 meters apart at least. Else there is a possibility that they might think that they are apart, but they will not be, and they'll collide. What you do is you have something called an RTK base, where you transmit correction data. So what happens is the drone, which can receive this data, and this is a special kind of receiver, where you have GPS data coming in, and you have this correction data getting fed to the GPS. Now your accuracy increases, and you can get to, say, 10 centimeters. So now you can place drones easily a meter apart, and you'll have very precise positioning. That is one. Other is we use GPS time. So GPS gives you time and position. You already have position. Now you have the exact same time. So now the drone is given a trajectory that you have to follow this trajectory. You have to be at this point, at this time, and at this time you have to display this color. Easy to do for one system, so but when you have a few thousand, very difficult to. So we have made a lot of software to basically plan their trajectories, to avoid collisions when you're transitioning from one formation to the other, and all of that is built in-house. So when we make these animations, so for every hour of flight, there is about 8 hours of simulation.
Okay.
Where you simulate their trajectories. You make sure that you don't ask them to do something that is physically impossible. Like if a drone can travel, let's say, 5 meters, and you assign it a point 10 meters away, it will not reach it. Now, because we have done a lot of flights and we have flight data from all of them, now we can simulate our drones. And this simulation is not like a point. Like a drone is not a point. It has mass, it has inertia. So it simulates and it takes into account all of those factors when you are planning the trajectory. So on one hand, it is the hardware, which has a certain level of accuracy, which enables it. On the other hand, you have the software, which is responsible for planning the trajectories of all these drones, making sure that they don't collide, making sure that they are where they need to be at the right time. And then the landing. Because think about it, it's a sorting problem at that point.
Right.
Because you start off with a very uniform grid, but after the last formation, all of them have to come back. And how do you assign? So initially we used to land them randomly in the grid. But then, let's say if you have 100 drones in a 10 by 10 grid, they will be at random places. One of the engineers got so frustrated with just collecting those drones, and he said, you know what, I'll write an algorithm so they will land in order.
You're an engineer.
Yeah, one of our engineers was like, so this is what we do to torture software engineers. We send them to the field. They're very comfortable in their chair and okay, I do software, but then we ask them, can you please make this? No, go to the field. So one of the guys, so we send him to the field and he comes back, this is taking too long and this should not take this long. They wrote an algorithm. So now the drone, when they're landing, they land back where they started from. So, and it's beautiful, like it's just beautiful to see them landing, and then you see, okay, one of them is coming around the outside because it cannot go from the inside. Some of them are going through the formation, and you feel like they will collide, but they don't, because it's just mathematics at that point, which guarantees they do not collide. So, very gratifying to actually, and people have come to me and said कि मेरे को लोग बोलते थे कि ये तो कब यूज करेगा. Now I brag about it कि देख यूज किया.
Wow. So like I think like इतना जो formation वगैरह होता है, I think so you built all the GPS system by yourself.
Yes.
Simulation system by yourself. So everything is built by yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
I'll not take the whole credit. I have a very good team.
Right. So before every show you do these simulations, like
Yes,
like there are
yes.
so many variables, no? So before every show you do 8 to 10 hours of simulations.
8 to 10 hours, but then we have a cluster.
Okay.
That is the hidden weapon.
Okay.
We can actually do this in parallel. So you have a software which will divide this task into different, and we have a cluster of, let's say, 24 computers which are given this task, and then there's another system which will just stitch this together and give you the result. So that is how we have been able to basically decrease the time it takes to simulate a flight. But again, 8 hours is 1 hour if you're running it on 8 machines.
Okay. So, okay, perfect. So now you are serving to corporate shows, big events, weddings, like these kind of things. So let's say I want to do a show. So like what it takes, like, in terms of money, in terms of team, like, that processing, if you can take me through that.
Oh, yes. So normally the costing, I think the business team handles
Right.
it based on what the location is, how many drones you have, what is the kind of complexity that you're looking at. So
Right.
all of that is handled by the business team. We have a team which will basically make sure that the right amount of the number of drones reach the location at least 2 days before the show.
Okay.
We have done shows in less than 12 hours at times because the team reached, the drones were there, they started off with the grid, and you have taken off in less than 12 hours effectively. Normally, especially for larger events, the team goes to the location 2 days before. You do a survey, you mark out the area, you figure out fence. Basically, we put a geo fence on all the drones so the drone doesn't go outside that area. And at times, if it is requested, we do what's called a full dress rehearsal.
Okay.
Because majority of the times, the drone is not the act. The drone show is not a singular act. It is done in conjunction with other events that are happening. Could be a music concert, could be a speech, could be any of those events. So where you need synchronization with other elements, we do a full dress rehearsal with the rest of the event. So the day before the show, as requested by the client, we do a full dress rehearsal, and that way we know if there are any changes to be made. At times you might have to shift the formation. The people who want to see the show might have an obstruction in their field of view, and we have to make changes for that. So that is why we do the full dress rehearsal, and make those changes on the go, and the next day is the show. At which point you pack them up, put them up in a truck. If it's an international show, then you submit it to customs, and then it is taken over by the team who will make sure that they come back or are sent to the next show.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of work.
It's logistics is hard. Yeah. I'm happy I don't do it.
How many shows you are doing, like, on a like day-to-day basis?
So this month, so this February 2026, today is 17th. I think we have done around 20 shows this month. Yeah,
20 shows?
At least 20, if not more.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of business.
I mean, yeah, all of them. These are small shows.
Okay.
But then, just because we have built the capacity and the team is trained in a manner, yeah. Some of them might be, so anything where you have 100 drones, 2,000 drones. All of them is a show. Not all of them are 1,000 drones, not all of them are 100 drones.
You got it. And Tanmay, like talking about Botlab Dynamics, I think one of the vertical is Botlab store.
Yes.
So जहाँ पे you are keep making indigenously components like flight controllers, simulator or ESC, a lot of things. So if you can talk about the R&D and the manufacturing capacity, I think there is an opportunity. Like, are you seeing this as an opportunity to be be a layer in the drone industry, like Intel maybe? So
see, we always wanted to do this. I think this was even before we did the drone light shows. The objective was to have some market share which is dominated by Chinese players. Like even today, a lot of these drones, if you are putting an FPV drone together, a lot of parts are Chinese. We realized that we can offer something which is not only hardware, but also in terms of customer support, because if a Chinese part fails, you are not doing anything with that. Whereas if somebody gets hardware from us, and if anything goes wrong, we can either replace the part or help you in troubleshooting that part. That was the initial intent. Now, what we have done is, I think the most, of all the components, the thing that sells the most is the ESC. Because instead of just making something and doing it in trial with it, we have done something that I think is not seen in the market. We made it for ourselves first. We figured out what doesn't work. And then once we were sure, okay, this is good enough, then only we have started selling it out. A lot of people actually buy our ESCs after having their ESC that they have taken from somebody else fails. Because ESC is a part that fails the most if not designed properly. So I think we have sold twice as many ESCs as the flight controllers. So wow. People actually, the funny thing, a few days ago, our business lead was at a conference where somebody came to them and said, "Oh, you guys are Botlab. Okay, you are the one who made that ESC." They did not know about the light show business, and I was so happy about it. Because I think it was a validation that, okay, this thing can work. What we're trying to do with that is, we have just started with a very limited offering, where we have flight controllers, motor controllers, but going in this progression, what we're trying to do is have an Indian equivalent or an Indian replacement for majority of the parts that people are already buying from outside. Next part would be to have more and more advanced hardware where people can put their drones together using these components and have the confidence that it will work the very first time. You have a few elements in these systems. We have multi-band GPSs coming, we have GNSS compasses, so something along the lines of very sophisticated hardware. I think we are building that pipeline and trust with the customer where you take this and you know that it is going to work. So vision there is just to have an Indian equivalent for whatever you're getting from outside.
Right. Like, it feels so great, keep talking about make in India. Earlier it used to be screw in India, like when everyone used to import things and just screw things. and you are empowering like Indian UAV ecosystem with your hardware support and manufacturing facility. So right now you also opened a new manufacturing facility in
Yeah.
Noida.
Yeah.
Okay, so how R&D looks like at Botlab? Like, how much money goes into it, how much people are working into the R&D, like you talk about that part.
Okay, so I think majority of our team, so we have a team of 250 plus individuals.
Okay.
Majority of our team is engineering, and a lot of I would say not whatever profits we have made has gone back into R&D.
So you're profitable right now?
We are positive
Acha.
as of now. People see what we are doing with drone light shows, but there is a lot of work going in the background. Primarily, I would say around hardening GNSS modules, as in GPS. So we have multi-band GPS. You have GPSs where you can get Navic also. We have just tested our anti-jamming solution, where basically we have an array of receivers and we're rejecting the jamming signal. That is one. A lot of work on software-defined radios and a lot of work on networking hardware. Going forward, we understand that you have to increase the survivability of drones, because I think everybody has seen what's happening in Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
Because, and I think with our recent experience, it is very clear that you need to have drones which are hardened. When I say hardened, they have to be able to take a lot of EM interference, EW interference. We know that going forward, the drone will have to take a lot of decisions. So we have put together microprocessors. We have 3 microprocessor boards that we're trying to shrink.
Right.
So initially it was say 10 by 10 centimeters. Now we have something which is 5 by 4 centimeters, like this big, running at say 2.4 gigahertz, 2.5 gigahertz clock speeds. Very capable hardware. Now, apart from that, we are working on thermal cameras and FPGAs. So basically interfacing TI images with FPGAs, where you have not one sensor but multiple sensors. Like, a kind of payload where you have all of the sensors integrated into a single PCB. It has challenges. Obviously, electronics, once you miniaturize them, they start behaving differently. Thermal management becomes a problem, and we are learning things. It's very exciting at this point because.
Right, and you also mentioned a lot of things. So, talking about Vayudh, so is it a subsidiary of Botlab Dynamics?
Well, this is the Vayudh is the defense wing, you see. So we have 3 businesses, where light show being one, components, and third is defense, which is Vayudh.
And talking about R&D of defense, so how do you put things together? Like when you're working with the army, they have certain demands, and when you give demands, then only you start working on the R&D. So how that works?
See, primarily what we're trying to do is not put the whole system together at once, because somebody might have a conflicting demand from what we have put together already.
Okay.
We concentrate a lot on subsystems. So it's not a drone, it is a flight controller, a motor controller, a hardened GPS, a mesh radio, could be a thermal or a daylight camera. You can have a hex frame, you can have a quad rotor, all of that. But the core technologies, the subsystems, we have groups which are working on separate subsystems. And whenever, let's say, you have a requirement, we take, okay, give me a flight controller, give me a camera.
Okay.
Instead of buying off the shelf, we are taking it out of internally from these groups, and then we have an integration group. So we have a team which is responsible for integrating them into a solution. You're not giving them parts, you're getting those parts from inside your team. There is another team which will integrate this into a solution, and then that is given as an offering. So instead of a system-centric company, we are more of a subsystem driven.
So what kind of drones are you building for defense?
Again, so a drone is just a vehicle.
Okay.
What sensor you put on it basically will decide that what is the role. You can have something which can have a fixed payload. Could be a camera,
Right.
could be a software-defined radio, which is just there to monitor. So you can listen into communication that is happening, signal intelligence, communication intelligence, where you have a software-defined radio which tunes into frequency. It can keep scanning for EM radiation in the area, alert you if something is happening. Thermal images, and we now are so a few drones that is still in the works. We are putting antenna arrays on it. So these drones would be able to figure out where a signal is coming from. So basically, you know, okay, somebody has turned on their radio with that bearing.
Okay.
So a lot of this is just built around hardware that we are putting together. So what happens is, as soon as a new hardware is available, the software team starts working on it. And then their job is to have basically add function to the hardware that is just brought up. So initially the hardware is not as capable, but as you build and build and build on top of it, little by little becomes very capable. So the objective is just that, have your own hardware and then build on top of that. And a lot of, if you see that the basics remain the same, it is software which makes the difference. And if you have good hardware to begin with, you can make it excellent by putting software on it.
Okay.
So it's just that the interplay of hardware and software, that is something that we put a lot of emphasis on.
I also saw on your website, I think you're making some nano drones. So what kind of drones are you building?
So I think our core competence is this.
core product.
It is miniaturizing electronics. We have a drone which is less than 250 grams.
50 grams.
Yes.
Okay.
This is less than 250 grams, has a very low acoustic signature, and you have payloads that can be swapped. So you can have a day payload, you can have a night payload. If you want to enter a room, it has something which has optical flow. So you can.
How much it can carry?
So it doesn't carry anything apart from the payload.
Okay.
And the payload is configurable. So you can have a day camera, night camera. You can have a camera that will look in the dark, like IR illuminated cameras. So if you want to go into a room, where this drone will transition from flying off of GPS to flying off of optical flow sensors, all of that. So the same philosophy where you have a drone and the subsystem is just the payload. You can change out subsystems on the system on this particular drone, and then you can configure it for the mission that you undertake. Instead of having one thing that does one job, you have a tool which can be configured to your requirement. That is the whole philosophy.
So just a curious question, like can we also weaponize these drones? Like we have seen how drones are going to change the warfare. We have seen with Russia, Ukraine, we have seen in Operation Sindoor. So can we weaponize it? Just a curious question.
I think when people say weaponizing a system, I think what they are thinking of is putting an explosive and then crashing that drone into the target.
Right.
That is one aspect of weaponizing things, and I would say that is just at the surface. Think about having a drone which can localize a jammer. Like if somebody has turned on a jammer and your drone can tell you, okay, I'm flying here and I'm getting a signal which is coming from that direction, or maybe that direction. So now with one drone, you know the direction. You might have another drone flying at some different location which finds the direction is in that direction. Wherever these two intersect is where your jamming signal is emanating from. Now taking these out. So do you think that payload is not a weapon? For me it is. If you have a drone which is listening in on, let's say, the frequencies that the enemy is known to operate, would you turn on your radio to send in any kind of messages to your command? Because the moment you turn your radio on, the drone will pick up your signal and then you have exposed your position. That is also a weapon. It's not about just destruction of target. At times, having the right tool in the right place persuades the other guy to not do or abandon their mission. Objective is that. Objective is to enable the next level of warfare. Objective is to enable the guys to deny them, the other party, use of the EM waves. And then by doing that, you can actually persuade the enemy to vacate that area, because the moment you do something, we will know. So how do you enable a small group to operate this sophisticated hardware which denies the other guy use of the terrain, use of the EM waves, their own weapons, is how you will fight the next war.
Damn, you are giving me these sci-fi vibes. So I think everything that helps defense is a weapon.
Anything. I mean, if you think about it, a binocular is a weapon.
Right?
It is a weapon. So, I mean, our job, I think, and we are not doing the destruction part. The army is not firing their guns every day, but this that they have to do every day. And this is something that we concentrate more on, where what we're trying to do is just enable their day-to-day duties with the system, and if needed, pull out the current hardware, put the explosive hardware, send it on a one-way mission. You can always do that.
Right.
But having the capacity to do the mundane things every day, that is more exciting to us, at least.
So Tanmay, like, how do you see this whole landscape? Like, technology is changing faster and machines are better than humans in some aspects. Like when we look at the army commands at the borders, I think weapon and terrain is our first enemy. Talking about high altitudes, high temperatures, deserts, low temperature. I think weather is our first enemy. So how do you see these machines and drones changing the warfare?
Yeah, I really think that we already see automation on the front lines. There are bots doing a lot of these logistic tasks already. There are these wheeled robots that Ukrainians use to supply the front line. And then there are drones which take out these bots. So a lot of that can be automated and will be automated. How quickly is it adopted is yet to be seen. But we know that a lot of fighting would be unmanned. And a lot of the kind of autonomy that will be on these systems will dictate how many of these tasks that they do on a day-to-day basis are now trusted with a bot than with a human.
So these drones are fully automated or they need a manual piloting for now?
What I see, and from a limited perspective I might add, the level of autonomy that we are led to believe that the drone will go out, find its own target and hit it, we have not seen that in Ukraine. There is still a person flying that drone and doing the terminal guidance. I'm not saying that the technology doesn't exist, but it might be not robust enough to be trusted on the battlefield. Because we know from experience that things work perfectly in the lab, but when you have to do it in less than ideal scenarios, it doesn't work. And war is very brutal. It is very unforgiving. So you cannot take something that is not trusted and put it on the front line.
So I think war is very brutal and inevitable. Like I haven't seen peace for a very long time in the history of humanity. Like every day you hear some news of some countries fighting each other. So talking about your case, like how your interactions happen with the army, like they approached you or you approached them, like how this equation works.
Well, we were interacting officially and unofficially through IIT, through projects at IIT. I think the stone that we have built now is with IDEX. IDEX is
It's a government program.
a government program which is basically doing what needs to be done in terms of indigenization. So a lot of our interactions is through IDEX. Now, because of IDEX and because of a lot of work that we have done uh, at IIT with different forces, now they are more comfortable in coming to us and saying, okay, this is the problem statement that we are looking a solution for. Other thing is that we develop a few solutions and then we have interacted with Army Design Bureau, ADB, which is the premier body. They have an office in IIT. We go to them, okay, we have built this. Can you put us in touch with someone that they might find this useful? So a lot of is through official channels via IIT or ADB or IDEX. So that is one. Other is that because of our previous interactions, and having the benefit of being at IIT, people know our name now. They come to us. They say, okay, can you help us with this? Can you help us with that? And then we're happy to help.
So, is it difficult to work with them? Like when you're working for defense, you can't compromise with the quality and they need the best. So, is it difficult to work with them?
I'm not saying like
Challenging?
It is always challenging. Like, it is, as it should be.
Right.
So you don't want things to be easy there. I mean, a lot has changed and a lot needs to change further. Uh, but just having an entity like IDEX in itself says a lot, that at least we are moving towards a future where we are not importing hardware from others. We are finding solutions within our own boundaries, and we are inculcating that kind of talent in the country which can take on those issues. I will not say not all of them will succeed, but some of them might and grow big enough to take on bigger challenges. I mean, that future is quite bright, and I hope it just gets better.
So, every time they give you a demand, you start working on that and then you show your product to them and you fail, then you again go back and then you again reiterate. So, that's how it works.
I think they're really good when it comes to basically giving you the challenges.
Okay.
A lot of procurement and others still need work, and I think that will be figured out, hopefully. But one thing is that they're never satisfied because it's their life on the line.
Okay.
And again, you don't want a customer that just tells you all good things about, because then you don't grow. You want somebody who will tell you, okay, this is why it is bad, precisely because you did not do this and change this.
Okay, so
Which is good. Which is
right,
good.
right. So, do you have any orders in your order book from the defense?
Yes, yes. We have a few. One is for this up to 50-gram drone. We have made this with IDEX for the Special Forces, Marcos, and we expect to get making deliveries very soon.
Right.
We have a few orders for training in simulators. So we have training simulators for drones, for our own drone, for FPV drones, virtual reality simulators where a person can just learn to fly instead of actually crashing a drone. They crash it virtually and then develop that muscle memory.
Perfect. So, from this point, like in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see Botlab Dynamics and Vayudh like creating that impact for India and in an ecosystem?
Oh, I want a bigger team. I want more engineers to work. Something that I want is that, let's say, things that take us a few months today should be done in a week. And I'm confident in saying that because we are putting together subsystems. So at some point, we'll have all the pieces that you are not putting just pieces together. You know, okay, we have tested this. We already have it available with us. We just need to make these changes and this will now serve your purpose. So that is what we want to do. Going forward is just a lot of capacity building, a lot of subsystems under our belt that, okay, this is ready, it is tested, it is certified, and then we just have to make small changes to make it fit to your application.
So, do you think there is a bottleneck of talent or
It always is.
in
Always.
DeepTech?
It always is. Because, see, the problem is that the West can always write a bigger check than you.
Right. So money is the problem.
I mean,
Like
money
how-
is one, but then the other problem is that uh, once you train a person, it becomes difficult to retain them after a point. And this is true for everyone in India, because now they have more prospects, and then you don't want to keep them against their will at some point, because if they're getting so, we have to. There's only one way to solve it, that you have to have good problems, engaging problems with you, and you have to have a very tight delivery schedule. Okay, you've done this. We know how to do it now. Have it documented, and then deliver.
So, Tanmay, like if we just look at the challenges you are facing as an ecosystem, so like money is one. Like if I put it that way, ki how hard or easy it is to raise 100 million funding for a drone tech startup in India. So money is one. So what are the challenges you are facing as an ecosystem?
That I hope will change and should change.
Okay.
For two reasons. One is, see, it is a cycle. See, I cannot write a bigger check than someone else unless I am sure that I am getting that order, and I'm sure, one, to deliver on time, two, have basically get paid for that order in time, and being able to reinvest that into a bigger project.
Right.
So that chain has to become a bit more streamlined. And then I think all of this will work. Nobody is trusting a company which has delivered, let's say, $1 million order with $1,000 million or $1 billion order. They will not get it. We are not Android. You have to incrementally increase. One is your know-how, the kind of project people have trusted you with, and then your capacity to make the next big thing.
Right.
And it is very incremental. That is a long haul, and you have to be willing to take that on.
Okay. And any other challenges apart from this as an ecosystem?
I mean, talent is one.
Okay.
Getting people trained is the other. Uh, there is a lot to be done at the university level to train people, because the engineers that come out of, I would say, even IITs,
Right.
they have very little exposure to actual hardware. So I think that has to change, and it has to percolate down. I mean, we have to really invest in education, because the kind of training that we need, the kind of people, the kind of manpower we need, you need to have a lot of investment going into education if you really want this thing, if you really want deep tech to.
But still, I think things are getting better, and now government is also pushing from its side and funding deep tech startups, acting as a catalyst, and a few private players are also coming in.
The optimistic one on the team, I really feel that it will change. But again, on the other side, I have to be practical and greedy.
On the ending note, like if you can talk about what it takes to build a deep tech startup in India, if you can talk to the young entrepreneurs, young researchers working in deep tech.
See, I will not give you a rosy picture. I'm sorry if you. Uh, it is hard. First of all, it is hard. Uh, the problem is that you have to find a niche for yourself where your skill set or your team's skill set can find a problem. Now, once you have found the problem, it's not just solving that problem, but making money off of that problem. Once you have made money, you have to reinvest. And then you have to show people, okay, now this is my next steps. The one major problem with deep tech in India is you cannot have a very long horizon. You cannot say that I'll make something today and it will make money 5 years down the line, because that limits the kind of money you can attract as an investment.
So you have to think about the problems which can generate an instant revenue.
Problem
for
is
you.
that problem. I think
Okay.
that is a big problem. That, do you think we can make something like YouTube? If you remember, YouTube back in the day, it used to buffer,
Right.
but it was invested in for a decade and more to them monetizing it today. it is not possible. The ecosystem is not that mature that people will invest in moonshots.
Right.
They will not. One is one startup. I'm not saying all. One startup has to make it really big. So it becomes an example, and then people will be more willing to basically invest into ideas which are basically useful or profitable a decade from now.
Right.
And then, till then, incremental is the way to go. And I hope I see it change.
I think all we need is a company like Lockheed Martin from India who makes it that big, so that, like, set the bar so high, like, no one hesitates and people actually find it exciting to work on projects